reception for the German and Norwegian defense ministers as they try to persuade Canada to buy submarines from their joint venture. The NATO allies propose building some of their vessels in this country.
If Canada decides to want to produce on its own territory from which point of time ever, then that's possible too.
But the TKMS submarines aren't in production yet. They're still being developed, compared to the other contender, South Korea, whose subs are rolling off assembly lines. Hanwha is promising to deliver 4 subs by 2035.
Canada is making a bold move that is good for its future, but could be a major setback for the United States. By choosing to look beyond America for one of its biggest defense projects, Canada is sending a powerful message. The decision could reshape old alliances, and what happens next may surprise the world. Canada is announcing one of the most consequential defense procurement decisions in its modern history. The Canadian Patrol Submarine Project, valued at between $60 billion and $120 billion over the full life cycle of the fleet, has been narrowed to 2 finalists. Germany's ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems is offering the Type 212 CD. South Korea's Hanwha Ocean is offering the KSS-III Batch 2. Prime Minister Carney has stated the announcement will come before the end of June 2026, ahead of the July 7th NATO summit in Ankara. The United States is not in the competition. There is no American submarine on the shortlist. There was no American bid. The Victoria-class submarines Canada currently operates were built in the 1980s for the British Royal Navy, purchased by Canada in 1998, and have spent the intervening decades in a maintenance cycle that has kept the 4 boats in various states of operational readiness for most of their Canadian service life. The replacement program they are being superseded by will deliver 12 submarines, a fleet 3 times the size of Canada's current force, with operational commitments across the Atlantic, Pacific, and Arctic simultaneously. The scale of what Canada is buying is substantially larger than most public coverage of the procurement has conveyed. 12 conventional submarines operating across 3 ocean approaches represents a naval capability Canada has never previously possessed. Germany's TKMS proposal centers on the Type 212 CD, a German-Norwegian collaborative design that extends the proven Type 212 family with enhanced range, endurance, and payload capacity specifically configured for blue water ocean patrol, rather than the Baltic and North Sea operations the original Type 212 was optimized for. TKMS has been pursuing the contract with a 2-part strategy. The military capability argument draws on the Type 212's documented operational record in German and Italian service, its air-independent propulsion system that allows extended submerged operations without snorkeling, and its NATO interoperability as a platform already in Allied service. The industrial argument draws on the scale of economic commitments TKMS has proposed for Canada, commitments described in January 2026 reporting as being structured around an investment package designed to woo Canada with the breadth of industrial benefits, rather than relying solely on the technical specifications of the submarine itself. South Korea's Hanwha Ocean has structured its bid around a different competitive logic. The KSS-III Batch 2 is the submarine the Republic of Korea Navy currently operates. It is not a paper design or a collaborative development project. It is an in-service platform whose performance characteristics are known from operational deployment. Hanwha's commercial strategy has been to demonstrate that Canada would be acquiring an operationally proven design with a living production line, which reduces the schedule risk inherent in procuring a new design that has not yet been produced in the variant Canada would receive. Hanwha's industrial benefit commitments are extensive and documented. The June 1st, 2026 signing ceremony at Martin Rea International in Vaughan, Ontario, attended by 3 senior South Korean government officials, including the Presidential Special Envoy and the Minister of the Defense Acquisition Program Administration, formalized agreements with Algoma Steel for military-grade steel supply, and with the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association for a joint venture covering armored vehicle manufacturing with Canadian majority ownership. KPMG's independent economic analysis of the Hanwha industrial package estimated it would support an average of more than 25,000 full-time jobs annually and generate more than $100 billion in GDP. Impact between 2026 and 2044. South Korea has separately committed to increasing annual LNG imports from Canada by more than 5 times their current volume as part of the broader bilateral commercial relationship the submarine bid represents. The numbers attached to Hanwha's bid are not purely military. They describe the terms on which South Korea is willing to build a comprehensive, long-term economic partnership with Canada, with the submarine contract as the anchor commitment around which that broader relationship is organized. The Stimson Center analysis of the Canadian Patrol Submarine Project identified the core decision the Canadian government is making beneath the surface of the technical evaluation, whether Canada prioritizes capability risk, schedule risk, or industrial and alliance diversification risk in selecting between the two finalists. The Type 212 CD's NATO interoperability and European alliance credentials address the alliance diversification dimension of Canada's post-2025 strategic reorientation, a government that has explicitly declared the old US-dependent security relationship over would benefit from deepening defense industrial ties with European NATO members. The KSS-III Batch 2's in-service status and Hanwha's more immediate production capacity addresses schedule risk. Canada's Victoria-class submarines are aging, and the gap between their retirement and the delivery of replacement vessels is a real operational risk that a faster production timeline directly mitigates. The absence of an American bid is the element that carries the most strategic weight in how the Canadian Patrol Submarine Project is being read by allied governments. The United States does not produce conventional diesel-electric submarines. The American Navy operates exclusively nuclear-powered vessels, and American shipbuilders have not maintained the industrial capacity to build conventional submarines for export. But the absence is still significant because it confirms that Canada's largest and historically most important defense partner has no role in the most consequential Canadian naval procurement in decades. The contract will be won by either Germany or South Korea. The revenue, the technology transfer, the industrial partnerships, and the decades of sustainment work will flow to one of those two countries. The United States will not participate in any of it. NORAD, the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, the bilateral defense cooperation agreements, and the extensive interoperability arrangements between American and Canadian armed forces remain intact. But the submarine decision is occurring inside a broader Canadian defense procurement reorientation, in which American suppliers are no longer the automatic default for major acquisitions. The NATO AWACS contract went to Saab's GlobalEye rather than Boeing's E-7. The Arctic Over-the-Horizon Radar contract went to Before Anyone Else Systems Australia. The fighter jet review is examining a mixed fleet that would add Swedish-built Gripens, assembled in Canada alongside or potentially substantially replacing Lockheed Martin's F-35. The submarine shortlist contains Germany and South Korea. The pattern across all of these decisions describes a Canadian defense procurement market that is actively building European and Indo-Pacific supplier relationships while reducing automatic dependence on American prime. Contractors. The decision timeline is now less than 2 weeks away. Carney committed to announcing the winner before the July 7th NATO summit, a deadline that aligns the submarine announcement with Canada's highest profile multilateral diplomatic engagement of the summer. Both finalists have made their final industrial benefit commitments in recent weeks. TKMS through its January 2026 investment package proposal, Hanwha through the June 1st Martineria signing ceremony with Algoma Steel and the APMA. The evaluation covering capability, schedule, industrial benefits, and allied relationships is complete. The announcement is coming. The industrial consequence of whichever government wins will extend far beyond the submarine hulls themselves. A 12th submarine fleet requires approximately 30 to 40 years of sustainment, maintenance, refit, and upgrade work following initial delivery. The country whose shipbuilding technology is selected becomes Canada's primary naval industrial partner for the operational life of every vessel in that fleet, a relationship measured in decades and worth tens of billions of dollars in sustainment contracts alone, separate from the acquisition cost. Canada is not simply buying submarines. It is choosing which country's naval defense industry will be embedded in Canadian shipyards, Canadian supply chains, and Canadian military infrastructure for the next generation.